Good morning. Thank you for tuning in to Local News Live here on AOC Community Media. We read articles each weekday from the Acadiana Advocate, local and state news led by volunteer readers. And with us this morning, as per usual, for at least a few days a week, is our wonderful Bruce Cohen. Bruce, thank you for joining us this morning and reading for us once again. I know we've got a full news day coming.
We sure do, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, Mandy. I really appreciate it. And I do this 2 or 3 days a week for the last 9.5 months.
From our home studio. We all have our own studios now, basically, a computer and internet. That's all we need.
Right. But I miss the podcast booth. I need to get back in there. We need to get back in there. Hopefully once this vaccines place in our lives, then we can get hopefully back to something that allows us to get back into the podcast booth. But thank you so much. This is Local News Live. Mandy, thank you for helming the technical aspect of it so I can come live to all the community people who are listening this morning. We appreciate you tuning in and listening. This is Local News Live for Tuesday, December 15th, 2020. And we'll start off with collapsed salt mine had recent violations. 2 workers still missing at Avery Island site by Ben Myers. Federal inspectors have issued more than 50 safety citations this year at the Cargill salt mine in Iberia Parish, where a roof collapsed early Monday morning, stranded 2 miners. The miners were unaccounted for late Monday afternoon, and the cause has not been reported. An Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office spokesperson said the office had not been contacted to assist and referred questions to Cargill. Cargill is identified in Mine Safety and Health Administration records as a violator in the vast majority of the citations at the Avery Island salt mine. Some of Cargill's citations are for violations that occurred repeatedly throughout the year. Master Drilling North America USA is listed as the violator on 4 citations at the mine this year. Federal inspectors recently found a range of safety violations at the mine, resulting in 11 citations as part of an ongoing inspection that started on November 24th. The inspection has thus turned up 4 violations involving self-rescue devices for underground personnel. 2 were related to timely corrections of hazardous defects, and others involved electrical and fire safety equipment. In September, inspectors found 3 violations related to emergency stop devices for conveyors, as well as others involving hazardous waste, unintended equipment, and staff training. The Avery Island salt mine is one of 3 U.S. salt mines that Cargill operates, according to the company, and employs about 200 people. A total of 18 employees were working at the time of the collapse. All but the 2 who went missing made it out unharmed. Cargill also operates a salt evaporation facility in Bridge. A spokesperson said Cargill issued the following statement. Early this morning, Cargill's Avery Island salt mine experienced a roof collapse. Unfortunately, we do have to inform you that we have 2 employees who remain unaccounted for at this time. We are working fervently on site with local first responders and the Mine Safety and Health Administration to respond to this emergency. That is our top priority. All 16 other employees working that shift have been evacuated with no injuries reported. The facility has been shut down to allow for a complete investigation to assure the safe operations of our facility. A spokesperson said in an email about 4:45 p.m. the company had no additional information. Next story up, Lafayette vaccines to arrive Tuesday by Kristen Askelson. Washington Lafayette General has received its first doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech coronavirus vaccine on Tuesday, today. The hospital is expecting to receive 2,025 doses Tuesday morning. This morning, are excited to be part of this monumentous day, said spokesperson Patricia Thompson. On Friday, the FDA, or Food and Drug Administration, granted emergency use authorization for the vaccine, and Lafayette General was scheduled to begin vaccination appointments Monday. However, received only a partial shipment of the vaccines, with the remainder expected to arrive this morning. There's absolutely no issue with the vaccines themselves, only a delay in shipment time. On Sunday, nearly 3 million doses of the vaccine were loaded into cargo planes in unmarked trucks and left Michigan headquarters en route to all 50 states. The first doses in Louisiana were given out Monday at Ochsner in New Orleans. About 9 a.m., with Governor John Bel Edwards on hand, officials of health administered the first doses of the vaccine to healthcare workers at the hospital system's Jefferson Highway main campus. Debbie Ford, Ochsner's chief of nursing, was the first employee of the hospital system to receive the shot. Even as vaccinations are being rolled out, health experts have urged people to continue taking precautions like wearing masks, avoiding large groups of people, and regularly washing hands. It will likely be months before the vaccine is widely available to the general, which means the virus is still a major threat. And continuing with the vaccine situation, could an employer mandate vaccines? Article by Adam Daigle, Acadiana business editor. Even before the coronavirus vaccines arrived Monday in Louisiana, the discussion was underway. Could employees be mandated to get the vaccine? We're curious about what's going to happen, said Elizabeth Henson, president of the Acadiana chapter, Friday for Human Resources Association. This looks like it will be the new conversation of 2021, whether or not employees have the right to mandate. Employers have the right to mandate. Healthcare workers at Ochsner Medical Center in Jefferson Parish were the first in the state to receive the 79 vaccines on Monday, and other frontline workers will be the first to get vaccines in the state. And vaccines will arrive in Louisiana, in Lafayette today, Tuesday. Some 79,000 doses will be distributed in Louisiana as part of an evolving and complicated process. Federal officials are recommending vaccines are distributed to healthcare workers and people in long-term care facilities. Once the availability increases, federal officials say, are widely distributed. How it is distributed and the legal hurdles, Henson said, must be worked out. According to the Society of Human Resources Management, employers can mandate a vaccine for employees based on industry and business necessity. The mandate is legal if the failure to vaccinate is a direct threat to others in the workplace. A Gallup poll last month indicated that public support for a vaccine is increasing, rising from 50% in September to 58% a month later. They're calling it a business necessity, Henson said. We've always been careful about asking medical questions of employees. We've had more flexibility over this past year when it comes to COVID. Religious police come into play. I think you already have attorneys who are ready to engage. I really think it's going to be quite litigious. Federal officials have also recommended anyone considered high risk or ages 65 and up ready to get vaccinated if supplies are available. Workers in essential and critical industries would also be recommended for a vaccine, since many are at an increased risk of getting the virus. Earlier this month, leaders in the rice industry made a plea to be included among those essential workers as more vaccines become available. Our position is we certainly would advise people to take it, said Robert Chauhan, co-owner of Falcon Rice Mill, which employs 55 at its Acadia Parish facility. I hope we have access to the vaccine pretty quick. We're going to encourage people to take it. Falcon, unlike some of the other food processing plants in other states, have avoided a mass outbreak at its facility. Employees there work in enough multiple shifts, Chauhan said. Not all employees are there at the same time. Some of the shifts we don't run a lot of people, he said. They are all able to stay away from each other. We have people outside. We've been lucky so far. At Savoy's Sausage and Food Products in Opelousas, management will discuss the vaccine at its next meeting, Executive Vice President Freddie LaFleur said. The plant, which employs 85, has also avoided an outbreak by encouraging social distancing and having employees change aprons and gloves on a more regular basis. Employees have been responsible, he said, and the company mandated vaccine. This is fairly new to us, LaFleur said. I would think it would be their personal decision. I don't think we can make that decision for them. Some people may want it and some people may not. Restaurant workers are not listed as priority despite being in close contact with the public as restaurants begin to reopen during the pandemic. Liz Payne, who along with her husband owns Pamplona Tapas Bar and Carpe Diem Gelato Espresso Bar in downtown Lafayette, said her employees will not be mandated to get vaccinated. The employees, she noted, have remained healthy throughout the pandemic. It's not my business to get anyone vaccinated, and personally don't want to hold them to do that either, she said. I think it's everybody's individual choice. It's so touchy. It's such a personal thing. Next story, continuing with the vaccination, a great sense of hope. Vaccinations begin in Louisiana. First doses given in Oshun, New Orleans by Emily Woodruff. Information in this article we've already talked about, but I'll get through most of this article for you. Louisiana hospitals began administering the first doses of Pfizer Inc.'s coronavirus vaccine on Monday, kicking off the state's effort to distribute the recently authorized drug that officials hope will eventually bring the pandemic to an end. At around 9 a.m. Monday, with Governor John Bel Edwards on hand, the first doses of the vaccine were given to healthcare workers at Ochsner Health's Jefferson Highway main campus. Debbie Ford, Ochsner's chief of nursing, was the first employee of the hospital system to receive the shot. And I did mention this information in our previous article. So let's see if there's anything else in this article that we haven't talked about yet. Let's see, Bel Edwards said that the first 39,000 doses will arrive in Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, with another 40,000 expected next week. A spokesperson for LCMC Health, which owns or operates 6 hospitals in the New Orleans area, said they were hoping to receive doses as soon as Tuesday. Tulane health system officials were expecting the first doses to arrive today, Tuesday, or Wednesday. And we'll just skip through that and go to the crime blotter. Advocate staff reports police, 1 hurt in Sunday shooting. The Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office is investigating the shooting that left 1 person in critical condition. Sheriff Officer spokesperson John Mowell said deputies shooting Sunday in the 100 block of Greek Street. 1 person was taken to the hospital in critical condition. Our detectives are investigating and ask for anyone for any information to please contact our office or Lafayette Crime Stoppers, Mowell said. Woman dies from injuries from crash. A Lake Charles woman injured in a December 3rd crash has died, state police say. The accident happened about 2 p.m. at LA 397 and Ward Line Road in Calcasieu Parish. Lacey Ann Butte, 35, died from the injuries she suffered in that crash. The preliminary investigation revealed a 2003 Mitsubishi Galant driven by Butte while it was traveling on Ward Line Road. At the same time, a 2003 Chevrolet Silverado was traveling east on LA 397. After stopping at the stop sign, Butte entered the intersection and was struck on the left side by the Chevrolet as she attempted to turn to LA 397. Butte was not properly restrained at the time of the crash and suffered serious injuries. She was transported to a hospital for treatment. It was properly restrained and was not injured. The crash remains under investigation. On Saturday, Troop D was notified that Butte had succumbed to more injuries sustained during the crash. Okay, it's almost a quarter past. Usually at this time, we'll read you a couple of public service announcements. ARC of Acadiana needs your help to provide safe housing for the homeless. During COVID-19 and concerns for community spread, there has been a dramatic decrease in available shelter beds. Those beds will remain unavailable throughout the winter. That means many experiencing homelessness may have no other option than to sleep on the street. Throughout this pandemic, ARC has been able to utilize local hotel and motel rooms as a temporary housing solution. From there, caseworkers and managers help our fellows transition to permanent housing. ARC Acadiana is very proud of their success in keeping those they serve safe from COVID-19 and on their way to long-term stability. However, the number of homeless is growing and winter is here. ARC Acadiana needs your help to get our neighbors out of the cold and into warm, safe housing. If you would like to help, you can go to their website, arcacadiana.org. That's ARCH, or if you prefer to make a donation by check, you can mail your donation to ARC, ARCH, P.O. Box 3936, Lafayette, LA 70502. And there's an urgent need for blood donations through Vitalant. Blood and platelet donations often drop during the holiday months as fewer donors are available because of seasonal activities and illnesses, especially with COVID-19 this year. With many schools transitioned to virtual learning and businesses and situations, about 1,600 Vitalant blood drives have already been canceled for November and December. Currently, there is an urgent need for O-negative blood, the universal blood type, that all patients can receive. O-negative donors can maximize their impact by giving a power red donation. We encourage donors to make an appointment. You can visit Vitalant at vitalant.org, or you can call 877-25-VITAL. That's 877-25-VITAL. Okay, and we're going to move on to back into our news. We have more PSAs later. Looking at some state news, Edwards forms a Lafayette task force group to help sort through conflicting concerns in the river basin by Mark Schiffelstein. Governor John Bell Edwards on Monday created a new Lafayette Basin Restoration and Enhancement Task Force to help the state navigate the conflicting interests within the basin, including fishers, land, oil, and gas industry, and communities at risk of flooding. The task force will also attempt to help integrate the use of the basin's sediment resources with the state's broader efforts to restore coastal wetlands that are starved for sediment. The irony of the Lafayette Basin is that while it is suffering from an abundance of sediment, the rest of our coast is experiencing a severe sediment deficit, Edwards said in a news release announcing the task force. The basin's stressors are not only harming water quality and the environment, but also threatening the capacity of the basin to carry floodwaters from the Mississippi and Red Rivers safely and effectively, Edwards said. The basin is the nation's largest river basin swamp with a rich ecology, and it is past time that it receive more focused attention here in Louisiana and nationally, Edwards said. The executive order directs the task force to submit an initial report by September 1st that will focus on how to best manage navigation of flood control, economics, and restoration within the basin and using the basin's resources along the coast. The report will be submitted to the State Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority. The report also is expected to address sources of funding for basin projects and programs. In 2018, the state legislature transferred the state's Lafayette Basin Program, which oversees an annual master plan from the State Department of Natural Resources to the Coastal Authority. The Basin Program is now submitted annually by the authority to the legislature for approval at the same time that the broader master plan for coastal restoration and hurricane risk reduction is sent to the legislature for approval. Oversight over the basin is largely in the hands of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, however, which controls the water flow through the federally regulated Lafayette Basin floodway system. The state is a non-federal sponsor for that system, but key decisions on the flow are made by Congress, which has long required that 30% of the Mississippi River's flow be transferred to the Lafayette through the old river control structure north of Red River Landing. When the Mississippi is at flood levels, the Corps also increases the flow of water through Old River and open the Morganza floodway to increase the flow into the Lafayette floodway, a wide swath of land within the basin that the Corps maintains through easements. The Corps' limit use of Morganza floodway 2 years when the Mississippi River's flow reaches about 1.5 million cubic feet per second. It has only been used twice, in 1973 when the Mississippi water's flow threatened to break through the old river control structure, and in 2011. Corps officials announced that the floodway will be open again in early 2019, but then decided against it when the Mississippi's height dropped. When the Old River and Morganza are both used to increase Mississippi's flow to the Lafayette, it increases the chance of flooding to communities within the floodway and to Morgan City and neighboring communities near the Lafayettes mouth. Repeated use of the Bonnet Carré spillway to move water east into Lane rather than to west and into the Lafayette Basin has been criticized by both Mississippi State and coastal county officials and oyster growers and fishers in Mississippi and southeastern Louisiana. Legislation pending in Congress this year calls for the Corps to review how the Mississippi's water is divided up during high water years. Beginning in the mid-20th century, the sediment Atchafalaya has been filling large areas of the historic freshwater swamps within the basin. Creation of new land and wetland areas has been assisted by the spoil banks left behind when oil and gas exploration canals were built. That's led to conflicts between oil and gas companies and landowners, and both recreational and commercial fishers, especially those who use the swamp as a source for wild crawfish. Environmentalists have also raised concerns about how the sediment and nutrients carried into the river from upstream farmers along the Mississippi might be affecting wildlife in the Atchafalaya swamp. The state also is interested in finding ways to redirect some of the sediment carried by the river into open water areas in the Terrebonne Basin to assist restoration efforts there. The Atchafalaya also is fed by the river, which flows southeast from Arkansas through Shreveport to join the river just west of the control structure. The new task force will include representatives of the Governor's Office of Coastal Activities, the Coastal Authority, the Governor's Policy Director, Departments of Wildlife and Fisheries and Natural Resources, the state's Public Lands Administrator, and a representative of the Governor's Advisory Commission on Coastal Protection, Restoration, and Conservation. A representative from both the East and West Atchafalaya basins to be chosen from 7 names submitted by parishes in the basins, 2 representatives of landowners in the basin, 2 representatives of conservation organizations active in the basin, representatives of the energy transportation sector and inland navigation sector in the Port of Morgan City, representatives of the commercial fishing industry in the East and West Atchafalaya basins, and a representative from the recreational fishing industry and a representative of an academic institution doing research in the basin. During a briefing of the Coastal Authority Board last week on the plans for the Governor's executive order, Morgan Crutcher, a policy advisor in the Governor's Office of Coastal Activities, said past proposals are for new projects often ran into trouble because of conflicts between different basin users. And the Atchafalaya Basin Conservation Fund, created by the legislature in 2008, was largely based on dwindling severance taxes and royalties, prompting the search for new revenue sources. Okay. We'll take a look at one more article, and then we'll launch into a couple of PSAs, and which will bring us to our half-hour mark, where we'll do the day in history, the zodiac or horoscope, as I like to refer to it as, and the funerals in the Acadiana area for today. Location for new Baton Rouge Bridge studied. List of 15 possible crossings coming in spring of 2022 by Will Santel. The public will get its first look at 15 possible crossings for a new bridge across the Mississippi River in Baton Rouge in the spring of 2022, officials said Monday. The list is then set to be turned to 3 possible crossings by the summer of that year. Officials of the State Department of Transportation and Development and Atlas Technical Consultants, LLC, which has a $5 million contract to do preliminary work on the project, made the comments during a meeting of the Capital Area Road and Bridge District. The 7-member panel is trying to find ways to finance a new bridge, which is expected to cost at least $1 billion. Carrie Maury, project manager for Atlas, said the first phase of the study is set to be finished by the summer of 2022. The next section, an environmental review, is set to last until the summer of 2024, and viable sites have been decided. For a new bridge is the key question. Backers hope that a combination of public-private partnership goals and possibly revenue from an increase in Louisiana gas tax can make it happen. Jay Campbell, chairman of the panel, asked about the possibility of speeding work on the effort amid daily traffic problems on or near the bridge. What would it take to get it done sooner, Campbell asked. He asked about the possibility of finishing the initial review by December of 2021. State Secretary Sean Wilson, a member of the commission, said the time is required to make requirements for federal aid and to obtain needed permits. The process is provided time and time again that it gets the project wired, Wilson said. It is time consuming. It is going on longer than anyone wants. Paul Vaught, a official who is a project manager for the bridge work, said the timetable stemmed from earlier negotiation. These timeframes are based on best thought set. What we have put together is a reasonable schedule, somewhat aggressive. He said earlier in the meeting, you have to go through the process and you have to take all the prudent and feasible alternatives. Vaught also said he has been commuting in and out of Baton Rouge for 20 years and understands the need for traffic relief. I certainly share the frustration of how long it takes to get this done, he said. Fred Rayford, Director of Transportation and Drainage for East Baton Rouge Parish, said if needed steps are followed, it can throw your project totally out of loop and you have to start over. East Baton Rouge Parish is one of 5 seats on the panels. The others are Ascension, Livingston, West Baton Rouge, and Iberville parishes. Okay, let's go back to a couple of PSAs, and then we'll go into our half-hour break with a day in history, the zodiac or horoscope, and the funerals and the kidding an hour for today. A safe location for holiday online person-to-person exchanges. During the holiday season, online person-to-person sales are an easy way for sellers to make holiday cash and buyers to score a deal. But meeting a stranger to complete the transaction can put both parties in a dangerous situation. The Lafayette Consolidated Government Safe Location at the Lafayette Police Department is the safest location to carry out those exchanges. District 3 City Councilwoman Liz Aber spearheaded the effort, and since opening the location in 2016 has received tremendous feedback from citizens. The safe exchange location has given people a sense of security and comfort when meaning to exchange a product, and it deters crime and decreasing the likelihood of becoming a victim of a scam or assault, she said. According to Lafayette Police Department Public Information Officer Wayne Griffin, crime increases during the holidays. This time of year, we usually see an uptick in calls to report stealing, robbing, and shoplifting. Public can feel safe knowing the exchanges are monitored by a police officer, making citizens less vulnerable to crime, he said. The site is secured with cameras capturing the transaction and vehicles, and is isolated in the parking lot across the street from the police department. Upon arrival, citizens should call the number on the sign, and an officer will monitor the transaction using a live video feed. Mayor President Josh Greeley added, I encourage our citizens to use the safe exchange location year-round, but especially during the holidays, when unfortunately criminals take advantage of others. We want our citizens to feel secure, knowing the site minimizes the risk of danger. Location is also used for court-appointed and non-court-ordered child custody exchanges, offering a neutral and less stressful spot to transfer belongings and hand off children to the other parent without having to walk inside the department. Okay, let's read one more PSA before we move into the half-hour mark. Keeping calm with the COVID hotline. If you're feeling overwhelmed with stress, fear, and anxiety about the uncertainty surrounding the public health emergency, there is a special Keeping Calm line you can call. This connects you to trained, compassionate counselors who can offer support and who can direct you to mental health, health and substance abuse counseling services. Trained counselors are available 24/7. All calls are confidential. You can call 1-866-310-7977 to be connected. And locally, you can call 311 to stop the spread. Call instead. #StopTheSpread. So for the latest COVID-19 updates and information locally here in Acadiana, please visit online at www.311lafayette.services. Call centers with volunteers and medical professionals are active 24/7 to answer your questions about COVID-19 and to determine if you need to get screened. They probably also have updated information on the vaccine distribution. You may also call 311 and press option 2 if you are a business owner, employee, or looking for a job to get information about applying for small business recovery loans, apply for unemployment benefits, and related programs. Okay, it is 9:30, so let's go to our day in history first. Today is Tuesday, December 15th, the 350th, 2020. There are potentially 16 shopping days left in the year. Today's highlight in history: on December 15, 2013, Nelson Mandela was laid to rest. in his childhood hometown, ending a 10-day mourning period for South Africa's first Black president. On this date in 1791, the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments of the U.S. Constitution, went into effect following ratification by Virginia. In 1890, Sioux Indian Chief Sitting Bull and 11 other tribe members were killed in Grand River, South Dakota, confrontation with the Indian police. In 1944, the U.S. Senate approved the promotions of Henry H. Arnold, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Douglas MacArthur, and George C. Marshall to the 5-star rank of General of the Army, and the nominations of William D. Lee, Ernest J. King, and Chester W. Nimitz as admirals of the fleet. 1965, two U.S. manned spacecraft, Gemini 6A and Gemini 7, maneuvered toward each other while in orbit, at one point coming as foot. In 1967, the Silver Bridge between Gallipolis, Ohio, and Point Pleasant, West Virginia, collapsed into the Ohio River, killing 46 people. In 1978, President Jimmy Carter announced he would grant diplomatic recognition of Communist China on New Year's Day and sever official relationships with Taiwan. In 1989, a popular uprising began in Romania that resulted in the downfall of dictator Nicolae Ceausescu. In 2000, the long-troubled Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine was closed for good. In 2001, with a crash in a large dust cloud, a 50-foot-tall section of steel, the last standing piece of the World Trade Center's facade, was brought down in New York. In 2012, the day after the massacre of the Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newton, Connecticut, President Barack Obama declared that every parent in America has a hard hurt and said it was time to take meaningful action to prevent more tragedies like this. In 2016, on this date, a federal jury in Charleston, South Carolina, convicted Dylann Roof of slaughtering 9 Black church members who had welcomed him to their Bible study. 10 years ago, the UN Security Council gave a unanimous vote of confidence the government of Iraq by lifting 19-year-old sanctions on weapons and civilian nuclear power. 5 years ago, Senators Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio clashed over U.S. military intervention, government spying on Americans' communications, and immigration as frontrunner Donald Trump defended his provocative call for banning Muslims from the United States during a Republican presidential debate held in Las Vegas. 1 year ago, the Hallmark Channel said it will reinstate commercials for a wedding planning website featuring same-sex couples. It had pulled the ads following a complaint from a conservative group. Looking at today's birthdays, singer Cindy Birdsong from the Supremes is 81 years old. Rock musician Dave Clark from the Dave Clark 5, which is 78, featured a very young organ player by the name of Steve Winwood, who will go on to fame and with Traffic and solo work. Rock musician Carmine Appice, drummer for Vanilla Fudge and other groups, is 74 today. Actor Don Johnson is 71. Movie director Julie Taymor is 68. And a side note on Julie Taymor, she and I attended the same children's theater group in Boston, Massachusetts, where I got my first, I took my first acting lessons and got my first taste of being on stage, being an actor. Julie Taymor was also in my class. Movie director Alex Cox is 66 years old today. Movie director John Lee Hancock is 64. Democratic Party activist Donna Brazell is 61. Movie producer director Reginald Hudlin is 59. Actor Paul Kaye from the TV show Game of Thrones is 56. Actor Michael Shanks is 50. Actor Stuart Townsend is 48 today, and actor Adam Brody is 41. Looking at the zodiac or horoscope, Sagittarius, the grass may look greener on the other side of the fence, but that doesn't mean it's time to make a life-altering change. Take a closer look and make sure your assumptions are valid. Capricorn, embrace change and put your plan in motion. Use your energy wisely. Don't waste time arguing with someone who will never see things your way. Take control and do what suits you best. Aquarius, refuse to let an unexpected change throw you for a loop. Make whatever adjustment is necessary to compensate and keep moving forward. An energetic approach will be necessary. Pisces, take a practical path when dealing with matters that could influence your earning potential. If you trust someone's word, you will have to make difficult decisions and changes. Aries, put emotional differences aside and aim to get things done. Concentrate on what's at stake. Action. Working alongside a loved one will bring you closer to each other. Taurus, set the pace, put the changes you want to make in motion. Refuse to let red tape issues get to you in emotional revelation or encourage personal growth. Gemini, don't trust hearsay. When in doubt, go directly to the source and find out where you stand. Romance is on the rise, but it's best to have a plan in mind. Cancer, channel emotional energy into love and romance, not into arguments and accusations. You'll get much further if you're mindful of what others are expecting or willing to work with everyone. Leo, keep moving forward and don't look back. Give others freedom and they will grant you the same in return. Don't let someone's uncertainty unnerve you. Channel your energy productively. Virgo, be sure to get, and this is my birth sign, be sure to get approval before making domestic changes that will affect others. Being upfront and enthusiastic regarding your plans will encourage others to pitch in and help. Libra, keep an open mind, but don't let anyone railroad you into a dodgy situation. Channel your energy into something that matters to you, to something you enjoy, or spend time with someone you like. And finally, Scorpio, your last doll change will give you a boost. Don't feel pressure to spend money to impress others. If intelligence and charm aren't enough, you may be hanging out with the wrong people. And as always, the horoscope is an entertainment feature not based on scientific fact. The funerals in the Acadiana area today, we just have one. I read an article about this gentleman last week, I believe, yes. Donald Pop Sr.'s funeral today will be held at Kesey Ferguson Funeral Home Chapel in Crowley at 1 p.m. I believe he was a coach who was very revered in the community. A lot of people knew him during his lifetime. So if you're a good friend of the families, you may want to attend that funeral service. Okay, getting back into the news. All righty. Next story up, federal judge approves hurricane lawsuit plan by the Associated Press. Coming out of Lake Charles, a federal judge in western Louisiana has approved a plan on how to settle thousands of lawsuits expected to be filed against insurance companies over damage from a pair of hurricanes that hit the region 6 weeks apart. Insurance companies and the parties who sue them will have to share information with each other as quickly as possible and then meet online or on the phone if they agree within a month of the deadline to share information, discuss a possible settlement, U.S. District Judge James D. Kane wrote in his order. If the two sides can't agree on a settlement, the case will go to mediation, Kane wrote in the order obtained by the American press. Anyone involved in any hurricane damage cases who want to opt out of the process will have to file motions with the judge. The process is similar to what judges in Texas used after Hurricane Harvey, New York used after Superstorm Sandy. Hurricane Jordan named Cameron Parish on August 27th, and Hurricane Delta hit the same area 6 weeks later. The storms are estimated to have done more than $14 billion in damage to West Louisiana and eastern Texas. Hurricane Laura also heavily damaged the Edwin F. Hunter Jr. U.S. Courthouse in Lake Charles, which may have to be torn down and rebuilt, Kane said. The devastation in the parishes of the Lake Charles Division, according to the courthouse itself, is anticipated to interfere with the timely handling of this litigation, Kane wrote in his order. Next story, literal cry for justice. Attorneys highlight similarities in alleged beatings of black suspects by state troopers by LUS Fiber. When he heard about a lawsuit alleging the state police troopers had beaten a black man to death and tried to cover up their actions, Aaron Bowman contacted an attorney. He later filed a lawsuit alleging grave similarity in his own experience and that of Ronald Green, the man who died in police custody. That lawsuit entered the spotlight last week when state police announced the arrest of a trooper accused of beating Bowman with a flashlight outside his Monroe home in May of 2019, just weeks after Green died. allegedly following a similar brutal incident that also occurred in the Monroe area. Similarities have amplified calls for state police to root out systematic racism and demonstrate transparency, namely by releasing body cam footage of both encounters. Flanked by a cadre of attorneys and supporters, Bowman stood on the state capitol steps Monday afternoon in downtown Baton Rouge and cried quietly when asked to explain why he was there, to make sure this didn't happen to anybody else. Attorneys Donicia Banks Smiley and Kristen Pleasant said they hope Bowman's courage will motivate other people to come forward with more similar stories. There is a lethal cry for justice right there, said Dietrich Moore, another attorney on the case, but Bowman and Green were beaten with a flashlight, according to the lawyers, but state police did not open investigations in either case until receiving lawsuits accusing troopers of using excessive force and lying about it. The agency has also refused to release body cam footage until its investigations are complete. That lack of transparency is unacceptable, especially coming from Louisiana's premier law enforcement agency, Bowman's attorneys said. State police are also called upon to investigate police shootings and other critical incidents involving different law enforcement agencies across the state. Critics agree that the role should demand heightened, especially given the series of racially charged controversies plaguing the organization. State police is now operating under the leadership of the Black superintendent, who was appointed in October. His appointment came not long after Green's family filed their wrongful death suit. State police have initially claimed Green died upon impact after crashing his car during a police chase, but the lawsuit alleges troopers actually beat the man to death, leaving him bloodied and in cardiac arrest before covering up what happened. The Department of Justice has opened a federal civil rights investigation. State police did arrange for Green's family and their attorneys to view the body cam footage in that case, though the video has not been made public. Bowman, however, has not been allowed to see the footage from his own encounter with troopers, even after Jacob Brown was arrested last week and accused of striking Bowman 18 times with a flashlight and then attempting to hide the video from his superiors. Brown, a trooper with Troop F in Monroe, faces one count each of aggravated second-degree battery and malfeasance in office. He remains on administrative leave. Attorneys for Bowman also noted that Brown's father is a former state police assistant superintendent and chief of staff Bob Brown, who recently retired from the force. Jacob Brown's superiors did not start investigating his behavior until after he filed a lawsuit. The complaint details the extent of injury from the alleged beating, a cut on his head that required stitches, a fractured arm, and broken ribs. During the news conference, Bowman pushed back his red knit hat to show a scar from the stitches. His attorneys demanded complete reform of what they call the cultural problem at Troop F, which has been plagued with controversies for the past few months. Hours after learning he would be fired for his role in Green's death, Master Trooper Chris Hollingsworth died in a single car crash in late September. Several days later, another trooper from Troop F, the son of former agency head Colonel Kevin Reeves, was responding to a call when he rear-ended a vehicle, killing a child and teen in the back seat. State police have not released information about whether Caleb Reeves will be disciplined for his role in the crash. His father also spent decades with Troop F in Monroe before being appointed superintendent in 2017. Kevin Reeves stepped down from the position in late October. Officials said he had planned to retire around that time, regardless of the recent scandals. The new superintendent, Colonel Lamar Davis, has pledged to root out misconduct within the agency. He also pledged transparency, but has not expedited the release of body cam footage. Next story up, Baton Rouge losing GDP before pandemic. Report 9 parish region comes at $52.8 billion in 2019 by Kristen Mossbrucker. Even before the coronavirus pandemic and the economic recession it triggered happened, the Baton Rouge metro area was reporting a reduction in the gross domestic product bucking a statewide trend. The 9 parish region lost $910 million in GDP since 2016, coming in at $52.8 billion in 2019, according to a recent report from the U.S. Department of Commerce's Bureau of Economic Analysis. By contrast, Louisiana grew its GDP to $239 billion last year, up from $225 billion in 2016. The GDP is defined as the total value of all goods and services provided in a certain market. East Baton Rouge Parish saw its gross domestic product fall to $36.1 billion, a decline of $1.7 billion during the same time frame. The gross domestic product was negatively impacted by the manufacturing sector in East Baton Rouge Parish, which dropped to $11.6 billion last year compared to $14.3 billion in 2016. Based on what's available, we can see a massive dip in manufacturing GDP, said Andrew Fitzgerald, Senior Director of Business Intelligence in the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. Another economist suggested the decrease could be an impact of the August 2016 floods. The economy was boosted in late 2016 by flood revenue, as tens of thousands of people who sustained damage used insurance settlements to rebuild their homes, buy new appliances and furnishings, and replace automobiles. What we do see is that the EBR's poor performance is heavily concentrated in 2017 when GDP dropped 10.1%, said Lauren Scott, a statewide economist. We then had a downturn of 0.3% in 2019, which was largely due to the lull in construction because we were between completion of some large industrial projects and the startup in New Orleans. Still, Scott was skeptical about the report, which was the first estimate of parish-level GDP conducted by the Bureau of Economic Analysis. The huge drop is in non-durable goods manufacturing like chemicals and refining, he said. You would almost need to totally shut down ExxonMobil's chemical or refining plant to cause that to happen in East Baton Rouge Parish. There was some contraction in East Baton Rouge Parish manufacturing during that time frame. East-West Coal Polymer shut down its plant in 2017 and laid off 110 employees after filing for a Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Georgia Pacific stopped making office paper at its Port Hudson mill in early 2019, a move that put 650 people out of work. Thompson Pipe Group laid off 120 people at its Zachary manufacturing in 2019. Looking into Lafayette, let's see. In the Lafayette metro area, the GDP grew to $22.8 billion, up from $21.7 billion. All the parishes expanded economically. Lafayette Parish grew to $12.8 billion, up from $12.2 billion, up 4.7%. The mining factor, which indicates the oil industry, led GDP growth in the parish and increased to $1.6 billion last year, up from $1.8 billion in 2016. A semifinalist picked for annual entrepreneurship pitch competition by Kristen Mossbrucker. 9 technology startups will have a chance to win $50,000 from local investors during the Baton Rouge Entrepreneurship Week in mid-January. Baton Rouge-based startup sales tool Unlocked, payroll and business functions tool Omadec, and lawn care operated business application Check, telehealth business relief Telemed, InQ, an assessment tool for talent management, and an entrepreneur networking tool Mentor. Also making the semifinals were Neural Rescue, a Lafayette company that developed a product to cool down heart attack victims in order to preserve brain function on the way to a hospital. Okay. Here's an article about rather work from home. Many employees want you to, by George Morris, a writer or feature writer for The Advocate. COVID-19 forced millions of employees to do their jobs from home instead of the office, as we all know. Those who want to continue, like myself, for those who want to continue working remotely, or those who would like to give it a shot, it's never been a better time to try. Working remotely or telework grew by 73% in the 6 years preceding the pandemic, and 25% of U.S. workers work from home either full or part-time, said Ann Nowak, program director of the East Baton Rouge Parish Library Career Center. Pandemics don't last forever, she said, but this trend looks like it will. This is especially the case for workers in high-tech jobs such as software engineers and designers who can work anywhere with a laptop and an internet connection, Nowak said. These are in three categories: traditional full-time employment benefits, self-employment such as writing, tutoring, and blogging, and freelance work. Pitfall: lack of interaction with others, no clear boundary between work and personal time for those not getting jobs with benefits. The need to keep up with those taxes that aren't deducted from paychecks, she said. There's so much variety here, Nowak said. Some people just want to top off their earnings, or maybe stay-at-home moms want to work a little bit in their fields, so they just do a few hours here and there online. Online marketplaces such as Upwork.com and Fiverr.com, that's Fiverr.com, allow people to want to work remotely to advertise themselves. Legitimate websites that help workers search for remote opportunities include Indeed.com, FlexJobs.com, WeWorkRemotely.com, Outsourcing.com, and Angel.com. Those searching for remote full-time jobs should note that some positions being advertised are remote only until the pandemic abates. And she warned, ignore those lucrative come-ons you see popping up on message boards. Okay, last bit of news before we get into sports. At LSU Ag Center, garden news. Plant ahead, get your landscape ready for winter before you hibernate, by Heather Kirk-Ballard. As we wrap up the year, it's time to get things done in the garden before our winter hibernation begins. Although it may seem counterintuitive, winter is a great time to plant trees and shrubs. Container-grown trees and shrubs will be less susceptible to transplant, and their roots will continue to grow, becoming well-established by spring. However, avoid planting cold-sensitive plants such as citrus, figs, and palms, as they are susceptible to freeze damage. You can also trim trees and shrubs, even deciduous trees. With fewer leaves, the tree structure will be easier to see when selecting limbs to remove. It's also time to prep your tropical and cold-sensitive potted plants. As the temperatures drop, you'll need to bring them inside, put them in the garage or under the carport, or move them to a protected corner of your patio. If you move plants indoors, they won't need to be watered but once a week, or when they will begin to wilt slightly. This helps reduce changes of fungal disease and insect damage. Fungus gnats love rotting roots that have succumbed to saturated potting, soil-growing fungus, or move them to a protected corner of your patio. Add cover to the trees during the day before temperature. This helps trap radiant heat from the soil. You can use sheets of protective materials from a nursery. If you use plastic or tar during the day to protect plants from sunburn, sheets and cloths can be left on for a few days without any damage to the trees, but they will prevent photosynthesis should they not be left for extended periods. Alternatively, chemical control can be made with liquid atrazine in combination with 2,4-D mecropop, dicamba, and other I can't pronounce this last one. The best results. Follow the product label rates and use a spreader sticker. There is also an opportune time to shop and mow a place and take care of maintenance on equipment before winter storage. Okay, moving into our sports stories for the day. UL Napier unbothered by Sunbelt title game hoopla by Kevin Foote. If you're expecting UL coach Billy Napier to give any bulletin board material, even lay down any postseason arguments for his educations or the Sun Belt Conference, think again. Which team is the underdog coach when the Cajuns travel to Coastal Carolina for Saturday's 2:30 this title game in Conway, South Carolina? And I'll end there for a second and just let you know that it's 9:55, which means if you're listening to our broadcast on our TV station, say it ends at 5 minutes to the hour. But you can continue to listen to my broadcast on our online streaming station, which is Cypress, Cypress, Cypress Street Radio. And just put that in your browser, go to our homepage and hit the play button. Or you can listen to us on YouTube at our AOC Community Media channel. Okay, I'm not real concerned with that, Napier said. None of that is going to affect the game. We'll focus on really good communication, precise alignment, quality fundamentals, eliminating mental errors and undisciplined penalties. We've got to own the ball and attack the ball, play the situations really well. Certainly want to be aggressive in the game, and we've got to finish. Between now and when we kick off, that's what we're going to spend our time on. Okay, Coach, can you make the case for the number 17 Cajuns, who are 9-1 on the season, or number 9 Chanticleers, 11-0 on the season, being candidates for New Year's Day Bowl? That's not my job, Napier said. My job is to coach the football field. That's what I'm worried about. All will take care of itself down the road. It doesn't even matter. Right now, we've got a lot of other issues to worry about, he said. Needless to say, the personalities between the two championship game coaches are very different. Ask Coastal Carolina's Jamie Chadwell, and the responses are very different. He views his Chanticleers as the underdog, even though they've ranked higher and are 3.5-point favorites in Las Vegas Sportsbook. They also beat UL 30-27 on October 14th at Cajun Field in a last-minute field goal by the Chanticleers. I think this late in the year where you're beat up, you don't know who's going to play. We don't know. We're already out one starter for sure. You don't know who's going to play. They have a chance to rest and get everybody back. So you've got a team that's full go, and you've got a team that's not, no matter what happened previously. I would think that would be the team that has a chance to be the most fresh and ready to go. That's the way I view it. So that's why our team feels like we're underdog going into this. Chadwell didn't feel like his team should have had to pick up its postponed game at Troy this past Saturday, which required a last-minute touchdown pass to win 42-38. As for trumpeting the Sun Belt's cause for a spot or two on New Year's Day, Chadwell isn't shy about that either. I think us and Louisiana both become, because obviously we're undefeated, and Louisiana's only loss to us is a close game, and they beat somebody that's ranked higher than them that's got 2 losses, Iowa State. I don't know, obviously, what all goes into that. I'm sure there's some eye tests and some of that as well, but I think both of our programs are deserving or being mentioned for the NY6 that. Chadwell went on to compare the program favorably against Cincinnati, which is 8-0, hasn't played since November 21st, and is without a signature win. A couple more minutes here, move on to a few more stories in the sports column. LSU rolling with challenges of early signing period. Ogeron confident team's young talent withdraw recruits. Well, let's before we do that, let's go to UL. Let's stick with UL for right now. The comeback falls short. Cajuns rally from 13 down, but can't quite close gap as LSU gets first one by Jim Kleinpeter, contributing writer to the Advocate. Faustine Afoa had 15 points and 12 rebounds to lead 4 players in double figures as the LSU women's basketball team won its first game with a 62-57 victory against the UL Raging Cajuns at the Pete Maravich Assembly Center on Monday. LSU, which is 1-3 continuing schedule, also got 13 points from Dominique Davis and 10 each from Tierra Young, with the Kayla Pointer as the home team held off a late charge. Brenda Williams had 16 points to lead UL, while Tyrona Doucet had 14 and Skylar Goodwin 12. LSU was originally set to play Texas Southern, but was rescheduled because Texas Southern had pandemic protocol issues. LSU led by as many as 13 points in the second half, but UL cut the lead to 53-52 with a 7-0 run, capped by a short jump shot by Doucet with 4:28 remaining. LSU immediately answered behind Afoa, who scored 6 points, 2 on putbacks, and the second with 1:54 left for a 61-54 score. Williams kept the visitors' hopes alive with a 3-point basket to make it 61-57, but the Cajun failed to score again and missed their last 4 free throws after hitting 18 of the first 19. UL went 12 minutes and 1 second in the first half without a basket, but trailed by 6 at the half, thanks to 12 for 12 and missed opportunities by LSU. Unofficially, the Lady Tigers missed 5 layups in the first half and shot 38.2% on the boards. Okay, well, it's 10 o'clock, which means our broadcast is over for this morning, Tuesday, December 15th. We bring this service to you free every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. to our hearing impaired audience out there in Acadiana, also to our folks in Acadiana who don't have access to the newspaper or the news site. We have volunteer newspaper readers like myself who bring you the news in association with the Acadiana Advocate. Again, every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. We encourage anybody out there in the community listening to read as a volunteer reader to go to our website, aocinc.org. That's aocinc.org. Go to the volunteer tab, pull it down, fill out the form for volunteer newspaper reader. Miss Mandy will get in touch with you. And currently we're all set up in our home studio. So if you have a computer, you can easily get the links from Miss Mandy, and the technical aspect will be taken care of by one of our illustrious engineers like Mandy and Matt, and you'll be able to read the news over the air. So please participate if you wish. Also, we appreciate the community listening, as always, to our broadcast. This is Bruce Cohen, will always be Bruce Cohen. I do appreciate you tuning in and listening to the I always say that I want you to be safe, healthy, and smart. Continue to be smart about this pandemic. Just if you're going outside, folks, you can be around people, wear your mask. It's very easy. Just bring your mask with you at all times if you're going to be outside, unless, other than being quarantined with the people you love or your family members. They love you too. Just be smart about it. Just be smart and be kind to each other. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you on the next time I read. Have a great